What is up, guys? It is the jolly old Sound Alchemist here with
the Krampus Gershwin.
Perfect. We'll keep that take. And welcome to another ho version of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get those questions first. We also have super thanks. If you guys want to support the channel, you can send us over a super thanks. If you do, you can ask us anything and we're going to guarantee answer it for you, no matter what it is, even if it's intimate. Like, what would we do to Santa Claus if we forgot to buy milk and cookies and we had to pay him in another way?
Yeah, I'll still give him milk and cookies.
But anyways, this question comes from Le Mac and Cheese. He says, how does a Space Marine feel about killing one of their own chapter brothers or a Marine from another chapter, for example, if one were to turn chaos, go rogue, or plainly just disagree or hate one another?
I feel like this happens too often, especially when there's rivalries. Like, for example, the Knight of the Wolf, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
When the...
Grey Knights?
No, it wasn't... Well, that too. So the one I was thinking, before we get to that, the one I was alluding to was the Imperial Fists and the Space Wolves. No. The Dark Angels and the Space Wolves. They have like this little like get together to just kind of like show like, oh, I'm better at this competition. No, I'm better at doing this. And eventually that led to like a full on brawl and like shots were fired and they had to like stop it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were also correct in that other altercation.
Grey Knights versus Space Wolves. The Grey Knights actually and the Inquisition invaded Fenris, and the only reason that like, well, I mean, you invade a Space Marine chapter, you're gonna get destroyed. Especially if it's Space Wolves. They don't have chapters; they have companies, which are huge, which are just chapter size. But yeah, so normally if it's chapter against chapter, common. Remember though that Space Marines are tough. They're Tonka trucks.
Just like what we're getting for Christmas.
Yeah. So it's difficult to kill a Space Marine knowing like that, because they're two apex predators kind of fighting each other.
Right, yeah.
So in the altercation with the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves, or the Grey Knights and the Space Wolves, or the Imperial Fist and the Space Wolves, or anybody else in the Space Wolves, it takes a while, right? Like, it's not as easy to just be like, I'm going to go kill Space Marine, even if you are a Space Marine.
However, if you look at like the Horus Heresy novels, I feel like they're always looking to get into a fight. But I think that has to do with honor. They're trying to prove that their chapter is better than the other chapter. Yeah. They're trying to prove like, I'm a better swordsman than you. I'm a better marksman than you. Yeah. So it's almost like they're looking for that fight.
But it never leads to death, does it?
Usually it does not.
Right.
But I mean, you're talking about a Space Marine. A simple misstep can, kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit this guy in the neck too hard. Well, he's dead.
Yeah. Well, not another Space Marine, though, you think?
It depends.
Yeah. I haven't read too much of the novels. But then that brings us to the question of what internal chapters. How are disputes handled? You don't see that very often. You don't see like one battle brother killing another battle brother within the same chapter.
Usually because that'll lead to them getting like technically court-martialed or whatever it is. They'll get sent out to do like a penance crusade or something like that. And
it's because like within any military command, like there's a hierarchy and there's channels for you to deal with disagree, or if you disagree with them.
Yeah, usually it's just like go to the fighting pits, fight it out.
Right, yep. So scarification becomes a thing, and I think there's some chapters that make it a ritual. Yeah. To do those types of things. And if there's corruption, if there's chaos corruption, like you asked,
chaplains get involved. They get mind probed.
Yep. But then that's usually that's the whole point, right? There is already a pre-established thing that the chaplain handles it.
Right.
He kills you with his love for the emperor. Good question, though.
Yeah.
Next one.
This one is by Kraken7353. Do you guys think that the followers of Chaos, other than Space Marines, have to stay in shape? Like, you never see a follower of Nurgle exercising to prepare for a big battle. Not really. I mean, we see Chaos cultists, and usually on the tabletop, they're going to look like whatever it is they're trying to embody of their god.
Right.
So, like, if it's Khorne, they're probably ripped. If it's Nurgle, you'll see them with, like, bloated bellies. If it's Slanesh, usually they're all slender and lithe.
Sexy.
That's what I meant.
Like Bridget B.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they're all shapes and sizes. Chaos does not discriminate. They'll take whoever wants to basically feed them emotions and beliefs and stuff like that.
Yep, they're the most inclusive, which is why you should join Chaos.
Yes.
Next question comes from Carubal. Do you speak Conquistador? If so, ¿por qué carajos están todo en británico? That's funny. I've never heard that. I've never heard Conquistador and I've never heard Británico. Don't you just mean Spanish and English?
Yeah.
It says, also, the Galapagos are part of Ecuador, not Peru. I thought it was Peru. Did you hear what happened in Peru?
No.
There's a strike because the president resigned. I think he said something about Nazis.
Wow.
Either that, I can't remember. Or no, communism? I don't know. He resigned. So then there's been strikes. You cannot get to, what's in Peru? Like their big thing? The Incas built that, like, castle in the mountains.
Oh, I have no idea.
Machu Picchu. So there's actual tourists stuck in Machu Picchu and they can't get back because there's a strike and there's no train, there's no buses, no nothing.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that. I was too involved in the World Cup to even know what was going on with the world. Isn't that crazy?
I know. France lost.
Spoiler alert. From what, like a week ago?
Yeah. But yeah, so we do speak Spanish. And why is everything in English? Because our Spanish is like, it's hard to translate.
Yeah, cuando hablamos español es un idioma que tenemos que pensar antes de decirlo, y cuando hablamos en English it just flows out better because that's what we've been doing in school for years and years and years.
Yeah, it's easier to just put out garbage when you don't have to think about it.
That is true.
And that's what we do.
Thank you, Duolingo.
Yes. Next question.
Estachon, could Shrek lead an orc WAAAGH?
Yep.
Oh, for sure. The more I think about this, the more I think Shrek is really close to being an orc because he's tough. He's got layers like an onion. He's got a little minion hanging around him, Donkey. That's like Gaskell with Makari. Right. We saw him take out multiple knights. He tamed, who was it, like a Puss in Boots, whatever you want to call that. Like they became friends. An assassin was sent out to take him, and he lived.
Yep.
So he's just like a Primarch.
He is.
Prime orc, if you will.
Also, his pheromones probably are just as nasty as
yeah. You saw him like eating slugs and bathing in the, I don't even know.
Swamp?
It was a swamp. Yeah, swamps are hot because there's like bubbles and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question.
This one is by generic name. Nice. Would it be possible for a plague marine to tame a beast of Nurgle? These beasts seem to be something similar to like a giant child or like dogs. I think the idea is plausible because depending on the plague marine, they could give the beast the love it wants and needs.
Yeah, but like taming, it's a loose definition. Mm-hmm. You can probably get it to fight for you because that's what a plague marine would want to do.
Right.
And yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, the thing about these beasts of Nurgle is that, yes, they're basically a puppy who are just going to play with whatever they see until they break it.
Right.
So I feel like if a plague marine tries to tame it, probably the beast will somehow, some way hurt the marine, kill the marine outright, because it's basically like a slug made of acid, and it's heavy and it's super nasty. Right. So yeah, I don't see it happening, but it could. Like if a Chaos Lord wanted to have like a retinue of beasts of Nurgle, yeah. Who let the dogs out?
Oof, oof. Next question comes from GFish17. Are Blood Axe orcs or Krorks? They're orcs. So the Blood Axe clan is notorious for having, or they have an affinity for martial order, which is what the Krork had to an incredible extreme. A Krork is basically just a Blood Axe clan member without all the bullshit tied to him of like might makes right. Like they have ascended to a position where like they're just supreme orcs, and they've lived so long that they're just giant, massive things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hope that kind of makes sense. Next one.
Ivan Prikoho Doko. Can the Eldar become great again? If so, how? It's easy. They have to make NFTs of their faces on some freaking AI art and sell it for, what was it, like $1,000 each?
That's coming back.
Yeah, apparently Trump did that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
NFT card game thing he did.
Yeah.
Sold out, and he made like $490,000 on that.
Yeah, it makes sense though. It's him.
Yeah, I mean, his followers are gonna. What's an NFT? I don't care. So that's what the Eldar got to do.
Yeah, they gotta find a group of people, lie to them, despite knowing that this shit doesn't work. NFTs went to shit. They're still gonna buy it.
Yeah. But yeah, the real reason how Eldar can get back to being powerful is, I think, two things. One, they have to unify. They're too split up apart. The paths have separated them. You got the Dark Eldar, the Inari, which is trying to do that. Mm-hmm. You have all these different craft worlds. You have the Exodites. They have to unite, and they have to then free Isha. Yeah. With Isha being freed and with their unification, they could finally become the threat they need to be to take out their number one threat, and that is Slaanesh.
Yes. And that's if the Eldar even want to do that, because like another element of this is like they've already been through their glory
Golden
days.
Age,
So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to do that.
But at the same time, they don't want to die and have their souls eaten by Slaanesh.
Right, yeah. And I think like they are living comfortably right now. And I think they would want to sit in the sorrow of their golden age rather than relive the tragedy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I see it, yeah.
Because like look at all the other factions that are successful, like the Imperium, the Orks. There's always some type of civil war. There's always some type of great downfall that slowly deteriorates. It's the Eldar are lucky that they're at the other end of that. So like, sure, they're dying, but at the same time, at least they're not like dead. Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think we'll never find out because GW just hates the Eldar.
Yeah.
They give them all this awesome stuff and then ignores them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if they do anything. But yeah, the Eldar have always been an interesting race because I feel like their lore is so rich, but it's not something that's more interesting than something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More interesting than Space Marine.
There you go.
Those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening and hanging out with us, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Yeah, this has been the Sound Alchemist here with
Krishwan.
and we are out.